they had made these shirts like a rainbow Melbourne United logo and wanted everyone to take a photo after in the shirts. And I vetoed it. I said, no, like, we're not sure how this is going to go down. This is not what it's about. Like, I don't want to do all of that. And I just watched every single player like come in one by one and take a shirt and put it on without even like me saying anything. And it was just awesome.
We're all imperfect. And on this podcast, I'll be chatting with a variety of interesting people who are willing to make themselves vulnerable by sharing their own struggles and imperfections. I'm Hugh Van Kylenberg from the Resilience Project.
And I'm Ryan Shelton from My Mum.
And I'm Josh from Hugh's mum.
And this is The Imperfects.
Well, we're back with another episode, and gosh, this is a good one. I'm excited that this is in the world today.
Oh, so am I. It's a great way to put it. I'm very excited. Yes.
We're chatting today with... Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hey, I'm excited too.
Fiddling with knobs and things over there.
Yep.
I'm getting all the sound.
Don't need to explain anything else.
No, just kidding.
Fiddling with knobs over there.
For anyone listening, I operate the dials.
Yes, that's what I meant.
noises.
Yeah.
Yes.
The reason I'm so excited, the reason we're all excited is because today's episode is with Isaac Humphries, who is an NBL basketballer who a couple of years ago did the most incredible thing. Well, I mean, it shouldn't be incredible. It should be the norm. But because it isn't the norm and because no one's really done it before, it was incredible.
Well, he is now, am I right in saying that he is the only openly gay basketballer, professional basketballer in the world?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And how he got to the point where he actually came out it was so fascinating to listen to. Just, I guess him knowing from a young age as well that he was gay and then trying to make sense of that in a very blokey and masculine world to the point where he decides to share it with the world to inspire others. It's just an incredible chat. So,
yeah, I agree. The thing that I found really challenging and quite difficult to hear the bullying as well that he went through as a younger boy when he was sort of late primary school. That stuff is really tragic, and it's really hard to imagine it when you see this confident, high-achieving person. It's often hard to imagine what they went through early on in life, and I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get into that. I just wanted to share something with you guys very quickly. You'll see I've put some paper in front of you. I've got something to show you in a second. As you guys know, I went to India for a four-night, 5-day trip.
Yep.
With a friend of ours, Mike, Magic Mike. Not the stripper one, the magician, magician one. We went to visit Pat Cummins in playing in the IPL.
Yep.
Incredible thing to do. But it was arranged very last minute, and I know there were whispers behind my back from family that the admin involved with getting overseas, doing the visa, doing all that.
What are you like with getting traveling?
Horrendous.
Terrible.
Horrendous.
Okay.
With my ADHD, the admin side of things is just not my forte. Very last minute was trying to fill out all the forms and get everything done, the visa and checking out everything. And the visa was it was an online, obviously it was an online process that was causing quite a few issues. I couldn't get, for whatever reason, I was calling you, Josh, and Bridge as well, trying to help with payment because my card wouldn't work, and it was just, and I was getting it down. It said they needed 5 working days, and I was leaving in 4, so I was really leaving it to the last minute. And in a bit of a panic, I realised I had to do it before midnight. I was up at 11 o'clock on this certain night, got to get it done by here, otherwise I'm not going to get there. The last thing was it just said attach a photo, it must be like the passport style photo, it must be from shoulders up. And I went, yeah, no, I've definitely got one of those. That's good. No, I've got a good one for that. It's shoulders up. It's good light. It's good quality photo. Perfect. Attached that. Got to the airport and went up to the guy. And he said, "Oh, passport, thanks." And I showed him, "Is it Qantas?" And then he said, "And your visa?" I went, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I need to see your visa." And I said, How do I show it to you? I did it online.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I did it online." He goes, "You need to print it out and bring it here."
I hate this.
He says, "Do you have the form on your phone?" Yep. And he said, "Well, the chemist around the corner will print it for you." I went, "Oh, that's amazing."
Yeah.
And he goes, "And come back to this point. Don't queue up again. Come back to this point." I went, "This is great. Thank you." Went to the chemist and they said, "Just email it to us." And I emailed it to her, and as I was just looking at products while she was printing, I heard the most outrageously loud laughter, uproarious laughter coming from the chemist as she was printing my stuff.
This is such an adventure so far.
I was like, what? I wonder what's going on there. And it was so loud. She looked at me and she goes, "Very good." And I honestly thought, has just worked out that I do the podcast. She loves the podcast, and she's just, I don't know, remembered something funny from I didn't.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just a callback to a story from a very long time ago.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. She goes, "There you go. There's your." No, she printed it out, gave it back to me, and went, "Thank you." And I went up to Qantas, went back, and I said to the guy, "Here you go. Here's my visa." Absolutely pissed himself laughing. Have a look at the photo that I just stupidly chose to put there.
Are we looking now?
You can look now. This is the photo that I chose.
This is basically a headshot. It's basically like the shot from when you starred in a Gazman commercial when you were 20. And you're just very subtly leaning on your hand. Is this from when there was like a magazine article about you? There was like a professional photo shoot.
I wasn't thinking. It just said the photo has to be like from the shoulders up and good light. And they were giving instructions on how to do a passport photo.
You have to look hot.
And I just went, I just wonder so I just Googled myself, and the first photo that came up was me leaning on my chin, looking quite sultry and like trying to look just hot.
And they were pissing themselves because of that photo.
Well, you're meant to just take a normal passport photo where you're not smiling. You're just like completely meant to be sternly looking at the camera, not smiling. And I submitted a model shot. Shot.
Well, I think it's a lovely photo, Hugh.
Yeah, I think you look very handsome.
You look very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Everyone's going to think you're very good looking.
Wow. Let's definitely get that on socials ASAP. Little thirst trap. Yes, please.
Amazing.
Anyway, speaking of thirst traps for your ears, this is a beauty. This one, we weren't speaking about that, but that's my segue.
Yeah.
My segue.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how segue is spelled? It never ceases to blow my mind.
Yeah, it's great.
Segue.
Yeah.
Segway. No. Segue. Anyway, it's an incredible conversation, so we won't hold off any longer. Here is Isaac Humphries. We're joined by, this is a man who does many things. I'm going to read a full bio here because I would like people to get an understanding of this incredible man who sits with us today. We are so unbelievably privileged. The first time I heard about you, I just thought, this is a dream guest. Athlete, more specifically basketball. So now, how tall are you? 7 foot?
Yeah, 7 foot, yeah.
Isn't it? I love standing next to a 7 foot man. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Always-
Why do you love it?
Just, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to see what's possible.
If I keep trying.
What man can do, each to their own,
Yeah.
Anyway, basketball musician and advocate. He's a very, very busy man. He's also the only active openly gay basketball player in the world. Growing up in Cronulla, Sydney, as the youngest of three, Isaac was 6'2" by the age of 13.
Yeah, probably was.
That's like year 7.
Yeah.
Like,
And at
that was fun.
Are you already playing basketball at that age? Oh, you must be.
I just started.
was that sarcastic? Sorry, just quickly jump in when you said that was fun.
Very sarcastic, yeah.
Okay.
Probably a bit to unpack there. But
right, okay.
being a 6'3", 13-year-old, definitely was
Yeah.
tricky.
Isaac loved performing on stage. However, his height and incredible athletic talent saw him off to the US at age of 16 years to play basketball. Isaac attended Kentucky University, which is one of the most prestigious basketball schools in the country, therefore the world, before leaving after 2 years to be eligible for the NBA draft. After training with several NBA teams over the American summer, Isaac returned to Australia to play for the Sydney Kings in the National Basketball League, where he won Rookie of the Year award for the 2017-2018 season. Isaac played basketball professionally in Serbia. Oh my gosh. The clips on social media I've seen about basketball in Serbia.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most
Crazy.
The crowd's going.
Yeah.
the craziest sporting scene I've ever seen in my life.
The crowds, that was something to, I saw some crazy stuff from the crowds. Yeah, like spitting on us and... One time I remember sitting in a huddle, like in a timeout, and the coach yelling at us because he's always yelling in Serbian, they're always yelling. And just this golly, like hitting him on the face. And just like mid timeout, I just couldn't believe that like fans from above us had spat on him.
Oh, a spit.
Yeah, like
what do you call it?
a golly.
A
I don't know
golly.
what you call it in Melbourne. Maybe like
golly.
a loogie or something like that.
Loogie.
Yeah, loogie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just massive. And then it was no good. He tried to like climb over us and fight him in the middle of a game.
God.
You know,
Wow.
just average. Yeah, I'll never forget that though. That was unreal. Crazy.
And this is the part where I sort of came to learn, we all came to learn about your story here. But in 2020, Isaac came out to his Melbourne United teammates. Captioned on videos, Isaac's fear and emotion is clear as he made his first public step to living life authentically. Since this moment, Isaac has become a global role model, especially for queer men, as one of the 3 openly gay men across the sports of soccer, American football, ice hockey, AFL, NRL, cricket, baseball, basketball, and tennis codes.
Which you just really have to take a second to think about how wild that is.
Yeah, even I was.
Yeah. That's a
didn't know that.
lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Isaac currently plays for the Adelaide 36ers. I had an Adelaide 36ers basketball as a 10-year-old kid, which is probably won't make it to the final
you go.
cut.
Was not in the bio.
Just an ad lib.
The yellow, red and blue. There's a spokesperson for Are You OK? We are so honoured to have you here.
Wow. I'm honoured as well. Thank you.
So your childhood, the first thing I thought was, as a kid who played basketball at school, I so fondly remember the day Nigel Purchase came out for a clinic and we asked him to dunk afterwards and he refused because he wasn't wearing his dunking boots. And then everyone booed him and he left it up.
That old excuse, huh? We all use that one.
The dunking boots.
Yeah.
You often see players put them on halfway down the key.
Yeah, exactly. The special boots for dunking.
Anyway, being tall was just like, I just wanted to be tall. I just wanted to play NBA basketball, so I just wanted to be tall. But you just said before that it wasn't a good experience for you. Can you talk to us a little bit about your childhood? Because it seems like already I sort of get the feel that feeling different is normal to you or has been for a while.
Yeah, definitely it has. Being unique, being different has been, my whole childhood, my whole adolescenthood, and it just was different things as to what I was unique about. Growing up, I was always the weird kid running off, chasing butterflies or, trying to be wrangled by mum, just danced a bit of my own drum sort of thing. And then I very obviously have had a passion for the arts and was then the only boy in the dance group or the only, boy, that sort of thing was definitely my lane. And then like the bullying sort of started because of that side of my life, like, the gay kid, like this and that.
Was that kind of stuff, like were people saying that to you? At a young age?
That's where like the word fag came into my understanding and started to, understand what all that meant. And like the self-homophobia started developing, in primary school sort of thing, like through that side of the bullying. And then once...
Sorry to stop you, what does self-homophobia mean? Like you developed a negative...
Yeah, so self-homophobia is what like a lot of closeted gay people go through. It's like this battle within yourself. There's homophobia, and then you believe that though about yourself, like all the negative things people say about gay people and all these connotations that we all have, you believe within yourself. So it's a very toxic, damaging relationship to have within your own brain. But that's a really big reason as to why, a lot of us struggle coming out. A lot of, there's a lot of suicide in my community and like all that stuff, because it's a constant battle between what we've been taught to believe is wrong and like just trying to also exist within like who we might be or want to become. So
is this a teenager you're talking about here, or is this...
I'm probably talking about like pre-13, honestly. So this is all just developing. These are these like primal wounds that are starting to develop for me. And obviously I've done so much work now in understanding my sexuality, and it started around there. And it's just been a really interesting thing to learn about myself.
Was it hard in, I guess we're talking primary school, did you have many male friends, or was the bullying so vast?
Yeah, see, I was so like unique in that way as well, where I would be friends with all the girls, but still be really sporty and friends with all the guys as well in the popular group, but quote unquote popular group, whatever. So had that as well. It was just and often the bullying came from people within my own sort of circle and friendship group, you know, as a kid, I guess. Not necessarily my friends, but you know, those groups can get quite big at school, and
That's very confusing because I think I was just assuming that kind of like I was assuming that it was more like the story of the outcast who is teased, and I imagine in that it'd still be so painful, but at least you know there's like a very clear divide, like who I can trust and who I can't trust.
Yeah, no, on any given day it could just be anyone different. Yeah, it was never a black or white sort of scenario there in primary school for me. And then my mum had an opportunity to go to Canada to study accounting or something, and we all packed up and moved to Canada when I was about 12. I finally left like that really hard bullying period behind and was really had my first ever like positive schooling experience in Canada, and then came home, and during my time 8 months in Canada, I'd grown like so tall. I had these massive growth spurts, came back, and I was at least 6'1" or 6'2" in year 6, like going into year 7.
Some people come back with an accent.
Yeah. I came back like 100 feet tall or whatever. And then it shifted from the gay kid to the freak, like the tall freak, like, and that was a real, like I was very insecure already, very insecure kid trying to just figure out, like as we all are, figure out what was going on in my body and my mind. Like there were so many things that were constantly pointed out to me about myself that were wrong. So trying to sort of unpack all that as a 12, 13-year-old was very difficult. And then that transition into high school was very hard for me.
Were you at that point, did you have people that you could like talk to about all like how you were feeling?
Not really, no.
This is, sorry to interrupt, but this is just fascinating to hear, knowing like the ending. I mean, not the ending, but knowing what you end up being courageous enough to do and bold enough to do. As a parent, like I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm so interested in everything that's happened in your upbringing to get you to a point where you are able to do this thing, which I'm sure took incredible bravery. So I'm so fascinated in this part of the story because I want my kids to be like you. Like I want my kids to be able to stand up and say, this is who I am.
Bit taller ideally, but yeah.
Wow, that's just Elsie at 7'2".
I was wondering when that growth spurt was happening in Canada, and did you know you were coming back to Australia at that point?
Yeah.
Was there were you kind of hating it? Like, was there a fear of, oh no, this is something that's going to put me out, or were you like, nah, I think this is
No, I had no idea. No, I had no idea. Like it was like a wall. I got home and it was just that tall poppy Australian culture that you know you can't be anything different. Like how dare you?
Yeah.
You know, I found a safe space in basketball, and I came home from Canada, started playing basketball. Like my best friend, who's still my best friend, he played a Monday night league and said like, come along and try basketball.
Basketball being literally one of the only places where tall poppy doesn't apply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we thought, like it was literally our thoughts. Maybe I could be accepted here, sort of thing.
Hang on, that was his thoughts as well? He was like, maybe
probably meant my mum and I, honestly, like to try to just find me something to fit in, sort of thing. I'd given up. I'd been bullied out of my music. I'd stopped doing all of that
because
it was just too hard to handle.
The name calling.
Yeah, like it was too gay to be in the music or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so the protective mechanism was to just not do any of that anymore. Nothing to do with and sport. It was safer from the gay label. And but you know, school was relentless. Like year 7 was a tricky year. I ended up getting taken out of school and not allowed to go to school anymore because it was deemed unsafe for me to be at school.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, and I had to, like my friend who was a neighbor, he would put my homework like on the front porch every afternoon
Oh my God.
because I wasn't allowed to go to school. Like people would bring like whole cartons of eggs and like just peg them at me all day.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, tomatoes, apples. I'd come home with just shit all over my uniform. And, the older kids like coming down on a year 7 tall freak, like that was their sort of like freak. And then I'd hear it and just get smashed with whatever, kicking things at me. Like it was just crazy. And
Because you were
just because I'd stand out,
That was
I was tall, I stood out.
Oof.
While just navigating all of this, like knowing I was gay, knowing I couldn't like.
Oh, so you knew at this time?
Yeah,
you were
for
gay?
sure, but just struggling to,
Of course.
like that was enough to sort of handle. So
Yeah.
year 7 wasn't ideal at all, and
That is sickening to think
Yeah.
about that. It's really
Heartbreaking. It is just
Mm.
heartbreaking.
and then when I say like that's sarcasm, yeah, it is sarcasm because being tall was not always positive for me at all, and it's taken a lot of these amazing opportunities that simply being tall, being a great basketball player has brought me to sort of have it all finally marry up and make sense.
It must have felt like there was no escape from it and shame. Like, I guess for some people who are trying to mask some part of their existence, there might be refuge in something else. But it must have felt like, and I use these words very much in inverted commas, but that you were kind of wrong on the inside and out.
Yeah. Well, they're made to believe that way anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did believe that. Like it's not easy going to school or going anywhere and every single person staring at you, every single person commenting on your height or laughing at you or like never positive, never positive. And you just, you learn to believe that externally you're wrong sort of thing. And then battling all these internal thoughts as well. That was my sort of beginning to teenagehood, and then I got an opportunity through basketball. Like this is where basketball started to change my life and essentially save my life as well. To go to one of the best private schools in Australia to play basketball, and I was taken out of that school and put into a private school in Sydney, Scots College, and it just changed my life forever. Like it really did, and it took a little bit of adjusting. Like obviously to understand that people's inquisitiveness wasn't to be an asshole or like, because I would often take, how tall are you? Like, or all of these tall questions I would take quite negatively because I was so used to that. But then it turned into this really positive admiration and, you're on the basketball, you're a new basketball player. Like, yeah, we got there and music started coming back into my life. I had a music teacher who she's coming down to my shows next week. Like she's still front and center every show, she's come to the US to perform with me in shows.
Oh, wow.
She took me under her wing and allowed me to explore my music side as well. And at one point I was singing in front of the school and playing basketball on the weekends in front of like, cause how you do Saturday sport or whatever. I was captain of basketball at one point and singing in the school musicals as well. Like it was a very cool environment.
Felt accepted.
Oh yeah, like absolutely, yeah. Standing ovations during the performance, like they just loved it. Yeah, it was a place where you were taught and like encouraged to be outside the square, and it was the first time I'd ever experienced that.
Because it kind of goes. I don't know anything about Scots College at all, but my sort of like very, very baseline assumption, is that all boys school?
All boys.
Yeah, my assumption would be that like the best all boys private school in Sydney would not be accepting of difference. And it's so nice to hear that that's not true.
Yeah. Well, look, that was my experience
Wasn't for
anyway.
you, yeah.
I didn't feel that way. I felt immediately accepted with a few growing pains, but learned to understand a lot about myself there. So I will always hold that time in my life very special for sure.
Just a quick thing to say to teachers, just the privilege of being a teacher and the influence you can have on someone's life. Hearing it just there, just a reminder for any teachers listening that it can get, you can get stuck in the report writing and the politics of the staff room, but just a reminder that the impact you can have on someone's life is to change the course of someone's life. Like it's just huge.
Absolutely. 2 teachers my basketball coach and my music teacher. They just absolutely changed the trajectory of where I was meant to sort of be going.
Amazing.
What do you think the difference between? It sounds like you didn't change, but the way that everyone reacted to you changed significantly between these two places. What do you think that's down to?
I think culture, the culture that was, you know, I grew up in Cronulla, and it's a very judgmental sort of part of Sydney. Very beachy, very like you have to be good looking and blonde and all the same. Like it's just you have to be all the same in order to fit in.
Yeah.
Whereas I think going into the city to a private school where students are probably exposed to a lot more in their life and different cultures, a lot more worldly, I think they were just a lot more open to whatever was sort of coming into school, and like it just didn't even feel remotely similar at all.
Have you ever, like, since leaving that school, have you come across those kids who bullied you? And
Oh yeah, and it's very different now. And it's almost hilarious how different it is. And I stand very tall and look them dead in the face and just say, like, "How you going?" Like, or you know, what's going on? And there's no point, I feel, in me, sort of harping on all of that stuff. I've moved on and learned a lot of lessons through that, and I wouldn't be the person that I am having the like courage and understanding to do the things that I've done in my life without those moments and without those people. So it's funny, like I still remember their names, like first and last names, like their face, like everything. And, you know, they're still in my friends from that area that they all still hang out. Like they're like still in their time machine sort of like life, and that's fine. You know, I'm not. So I like all good. You know, I'm doing exactly what I want to do and helping people. So
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I think on the private school thing, my experience of it, having gone to a private school in Melbourne, and someone who played sport and did music, was that in my case, and it sounds like potentially in your case as well, I think private schools celebrate achievement, I think, and they love people who are good at stuff. Yeah. So I think if you're good at it, that bypasses a lot of that stuff. Like it's okay to be different if you're good.
Right, that's fair.
That was certainly my experience.
Yeah.
But I what you were talking about before reminded me of something that happened in my life. I wanted to ask you if there was a similar moment for you. I remember when in year 7 was terrified I started playing guitar, started singing. I'd always sung, but started playing guitar, and I was going to perform at like a school thing. And I remember speaking of the names, I remember the exact guy in my head that I was like, I'm terrified of what that guy's going to say when I get up and play. And I got up and performed, and he came up to me afterwards. I like walked past him, and he was like, that was pretty good. And it was this like sense of relief. And I honestly think his reaction at that point changed the trajectory of my life, because if he'd given me shit, I probably would have stopped.
Yeah.
But it was so nerve-wracking to get back into it. Was there a moment for you when you'd started attending the new school and the option of music came across your plate and you thought, I don't know if I can do this, or I should, or I have to, or what was that?
Definitely. I can remember exactly what moment it was. I started that music teacher that I just mentioned, she started a barbershop quartet in the school, and it was just like we did auditions, and it was this whole thing, and I made it in, and it was just like, it started as me and a couple maybe drama kids or music kids that just, you know, wanted to sing or whatever.
Yeah.
And our first assembly performance was coming up, and I was too scared to stand next to them and be tall, like way taller than them. Like I was still a little, like I hadn't quite gotten over those scars. Like I probably still haven't to this day, but I was really nervous about standing in front of the whole school that I was sort of relatively newish at still, with people who were just so much shorter than me. And I was very, very nervous. So, and my teacher, she just could tell, and she just knew, because I would just, like, I'd shrivel down and try to be as small as possible, and she just knew that I was really struggling with that. So she had, as a bit, asked my permission, but, you know, it made me feel a lot more comfortable. But as a bit, we played into it, and they all, like, we walked up on stage and sort of they looked at me, and then they like went and got chairs and all stood on chairs, and so they were all the same height as me. And it just, everyone loved it. Like, and I loved it. I didn't feel so out of, even though they were all on chairs, like, I just didn't feel like I was standing out and so sticky above everyone. And then we sung Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, and it was epic. And the whole school just absolutely went crazy. Crazy. And yeah, I remember that. That's like, I was terrified to just be tall, like in front of everyone, even though I was literally there to be a basketball. Like we all knew that, you know, but yeah, that's a cool moment. And then with that barbershop quartet, like talk about culture and like things that we turned that into. As the years went on with that group, it ended up being me, who was captain of basketball, another guy who was captain of rugby, another guy who was head day prefect, so like one of the prefects, and captain of rowing. So all standing in front of the school singing barbershop quartet. Like
that's unique.
It was crazy what we created.
Yeah. As far as high schools go, that's a super group.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Whoa.
It was like all the captains and heads, like here we are singing show tunes like in front of the school.
Yeah.
And killing it. Like,
it's an amazing moment for all the other boys. They're all just watching it. Okay, this is, I've got to learn some show tunes. This is what we're doing now. We're doing this.
We just made it happen. It was very cool. Yeah, very cool.
There's something beautiful in the way that, like, I know it was a joke and a bit, but she's literally, for someone who you'd been told, or at least like bullied for being an outsider, and the desire was, I need to change to be like other people, to have her say, no, we're going to change him to be like you, is just so profound.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name's Miss Vandenbol. She hates me calling her Miss Vandenbol still. I'm supposed to call her her first name, but I refuse. You know, it's still in my phone. First name Miss, second name. But her name's Andrea Vandenbol, and she's an unbelievable human being. Let's give her a shout out. She's amazing.
This is a question, I guess, it comes from a reasonably naive place, but at what age are you when you discover's the right word, but work out that you're gay? Like when does that happen in your journey?
I remember in primary school knowing things were, or thinking things were different in my brain. Like I just felt like I thought differently than what everyone else was sort of saying. And then I just thought I'd grow out of it. Like, you know, you grow up, everyone sort of says, you grow up, boys grow up to like girls sort of things. And you think, oh, okay, well, maybe when I grow up, like I'll eventually start to like girls and stuff like that. And it just never came. Like as much as I forced it and tried all the things and tried to explore and figure that out, it just never came. Like, and at some point I had to think, this isn't going to change. Like this is exactly who you are.
So what are the things you say you tried? Like you try to...
Well, you try to like date girls and, you know, explore physically with girls, and that's probably the first steps of it. And then I got so dark and negative that I tried like hypnotherapy to try to hypnotize me out of being gay, or like those thoughts.
And that was your idea to do that? You wanted,
Wow. What else? I've had the fake girlfriends or the real girlfriends as just like, you know, the lavender relationships, just the just to keep face, like sort of thing. You just create all these security blankets that could maybe just keep people off your back, sort of thing.
So I'm interested in hypnotherapy. Did you actually do it?
Yeah, I did it. Like,
how did you?
Over and over as well. Like multiple sessions.
How was that?
I just started Googling like cures for gay or cures for homosexual, like that sort of thing, or just hoping and praying like maybe something would sort of pop up. And I was thinking outside the square, like, you know, what maybe that you can't cure it, obviously. That's just a very naive, very hopeful thought. But then I just remember thinking maybe I could alter like the way I see things or view things or whatever. Maybe I could be hypnotized out of thinking that about like guys and maybe more towards girls, sort of thing. Because at that point in my life, like the wife and kids like was very much all I really wanted, and I wanted to be a parent and very much wanted that sort of life. And
Oh, really? So you'd like dreamed of like the sort of classic.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't know if that is again a byproduct of what's going on in my head. Like that, again, self-homophobia, like so much happens in your head where you talk yourself out of like all of these scenarios, and you have to have a wife and kids. Like what other option? There's no other option. So yeah, I went to the sessions and she I've had people say like, she took your money. Like she actually took your money.
Yeah, no, it's morally
and like, yeah, no, she
profession.
did. Yeah, she definitely did. And I went back over and over, and our goal was to hypnotize me into believing that a wife and kids and a house was the like be all end all. Like that was like that was her approach sort of thing. And I remember her saying like, oh, you can have those thoughts about guys, but as long as you don't act on them, sort of thing. And I remember thinking that is so wrong and weird to say, like that is just so not it. And sure enough, it didn't work. And yeah, like literally had zero, had zero impact. Probably went the other way. So no, it just yeah, it was just a hope. Yeah.
Unlike many other things in this episode, we will not link to her practice in the show notes. You will not find one.
I couldn't
there.
even tell you who it was anymore. But yeah, no, it's sexuality dysphoria is what they treat for.
God.
No, sorry, sexuality dysmorphia or dysphoria. Either way, like it's where you like, yeah, they try to claim that you don't really believe like your real sexuality, and we'll hypnotize you out of it into the right one.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you said it got really dark for you. Do you have a memory of it where it's it feels like to you as at its low point? Was there a time?
That the darkness sort of came a little later in my life, kind of around COVID time. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 23 or something. And maybe 24. And I was playing in the US and had played in the US for a pretty long time now. Like I was pretty used to the US.
Was this that was college?
It was college, and then I came back for a year, and then I went kind of back over to the
G League.
States to do G League stuff and NBA stuff. And I did have a girlfriend at the time actually, and she's also gay now, which is fascinating. But we were obviously just leaning on each other and not knowing it.
Gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Very fascinating, yeah. And we're still very close. She's married she got married to her wife a few months ago. So I came home. I sort of said to her, like, I've got to just come home. Like, I don't know what's happening with COVID. And it was sort of my like excuse to kind of get out of the situation, because I was obviously not like, I just knew it wasn't feeling sort of right. I didn't know how to approach it all. And this like perfect sort of have to go home, like, and separate sort of thing came along. So I did. And then I eventually signed with Adelaide and during the COVID period, and went down to Adelaide to like quarantine. You had to quarantine for 14 days when you moved states and stuff back then. Everything stopped. Basketball stopped. I really had to figure out like what was going on. And it was still so negative. Like I could not see a positive. I'd never seen a positive influence, like a gay person in my life. I didn't know anyone like really that was gay or positive specifically, like I'd never seen it be positive. And basketball's like quite a homophobic space. So you hear a lot of negative talk, and you start to, believe and talk all the same. That's sort of that self-homophobia again.
And this was even in 2020.
Yeah.
And even now, would you say?
I think it's getting a lot better, and people are very understanding
because
of my
you.
situation.
Yeah.
So like, literally, it teams I'm on anyway. It's a lot like it's a lot better, I guess. Yeah, because of me, and that's great. But yeah, as a whole, culturally, basketball's like pretty homophobic. Just the slang and the slurring and the terms, like it's. It just has that culture, unfortunately, that we're trying to change. And then I just went down this horrible spiral of, there's no way I can be gay like in a basketball environment. So like, what's the point of living? That was my first sort of thought, which is, you know, dark and wild. That's my first thought, but it just felt like that intense. Like, I can't do my job. I can't date because how do I like date anyone being a professional athlete like that most people sort of know of? And therefore, if I can't date, then I'm just gonna be lonely my whole life. Like, what's the point of that? And you just go down this horrible, dark spiral, to a point where it got to suicide, and I planned my attempt and wrote all my letters, and I'd written my mum like a song to try to come out to her, which is released. It's called Be Alright, and it's one of my favorite songs I'd ever written. And I just played it all night and cried and cried and cried, and eventually like sort of went to my room and had all my things ready to go. And I think my body just like took over, like the shock, and my whole body just took over, I think. And I woke up the next day and was just shit everywhere. I don't remember what happened. And yeah.
Is in your body just sort of shut down?
I think it just shut down and I went to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And what did that feel like waking up?
Waking up, it was like holy shit, like what happened? Like, did I go through with what I was planning? Like, did nothing happen? Like, I don't know, because it was chaos. Like, there was shit everywhere. And then I immediately thought, okay, well, what's going to happen here? Like, do I don't know why. Like, my nephew at the time, well, he's still my nephew. Sorry. But at the time, my nephew just crossed my mind, and he's very unique as well, and very me, like how I was a kid. And I just thought, like, I don't think I want to be that memory of an uncle, especially if I could maybe figure this out and then help him as well, or just be there anyway, like even if he doesn't need my help or whatever, you know. And then looking at the letters, and I'm just like, it just all sort of hit me, and my mind changed. And a lot of us in the mental health space who hear experiences like that, and people's attempt experiences often say there was that one thing, whether it was a nephew or a son or something, that kind of kickstart you out of that mindset, and you start thinking differently. And so that was that for me. And I immediately went and got a therapist and said I was gay out loud for the first time in my life to the therapist.
Wow. How did that feel?
Yeah, crazy.
Gosh, so how old were you then?
Weird,
how old were you when you...
All that same time, so I would have been 23 or 24.
Oh, mate, gosh.
Yeah. And I was battling injuries as well at the time. So, like, I didn't have basketball. I didn't have anything. Like, it was just all crumbling, it felt like.
So you say it out loud. I feel like that's quite significant. Say it out loud for the first time to your therapist. Then, I know the times I've had therapy and something significant's happened in the session, I've never had anything of that significance, but you feel so, hopefully you're with a therapist that you feel so safe and protected by, and you feel like it's a sort of safe space that you feel safe enough to say this thing. But then you walk out and you're like back in the real world, and you've now like had this experience. What does that feel like?
I think just from saying it out loud to her, the therapist, it sort of kickstarted a bit of a mentality of like, maybe it's time I tell my mum, or like, I've said it now, like maybe I can like start sort of figuring out how this all looks. And I don't remember like walking out and feeling any certain type of way, but I definitely remember
singing Sondheim.
Yeah. I definitely remember you know, like it was a really good first step towards where I ended up being, and understanding the importance of coming out and sharing that with people and having those moments.
Yeah.
I just never done it. So, you know, when you do something for the first time, it kind of gets like easier and easier, I guess. But yeah, it was, it definitely kickstarted a much more positive mentality for sure.
And did you then tell your mum?
Yeah, I did. Under probably not the best circumstances, but like I had a partner at the time who was, that's a whole nother story. But it was absolutely ruining me, and it was all secret. and
So you had a partner, a male
a
partner?
secret male
Yeah.
partner, of about a year. And that was directly after my suicide attempt. It was a really toxic, awful environment. So things happened where I sort of needed my mum, and I just thought, like, I just can't do all this on my own anymore. And just, it was my sister's wedding, and I just pulled my mum aside and explained everything, like the suicidal thoughts, the attempt, or the intention to attempt that night, the partner, like all of this crazy shit that was going on. And
I mean, that's competitive siblings.
yeah,
To tell her on your sister's wedding day.
I just was never around. So like,
Yeah.
that's the only time I would often see my mum is when we were all together for someone else's things. So
And how did she respond? Your mum?
yeah, all good. Like great response. She's a lot more educated now on all of that stuff, and there's not like a right or wrong way to react, but there kind of is as well. So like gay people hate we knew, like that sucks, like. So we've just been going through all this turmoil, and you've just known this whole time, like that sucks.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to know and have your inklings and stuff, but just keep it to yourself. Like, let us have our moment and share what's going on.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I think she just was supportive, and I think because it was multi-layered, the conversation. It wasn't just me coming out. It was like a lot going on there. And she really held on to the suicide part, obviously. It was a very good moment for our relationship. And, now she's like, I referred her a book, The Velvet Rage it's called. And it's an unreal book for people who are trying to figure out their sexuality, as well as like parents who have maybe kids, and you're trying to figure out that role in it all as well. And it just teaches you a lot about the wounds and how we talk, like closeted people talk ourselves into all these crazy like scenarios and stuff in our brain that aren't real. And it helped her understand a lot of why I was going through what I was going through and stuff like
We'll
that.
definitely put a link to that book in the show notes. It sounds really
Velvet
important.
Rage, it's a great book. Yeah.
I just can't imagine what, like, obviously I guess that's quite a delayed process, but to hold all that, I guess, shame and pain by yourself for so long, I can't imagine what that feels like to start to share it or to say,
It was crazy. My coming out journey was very, very interesting. Due to my injuries, I'd come out to a few people, and then due to my injuries, I had to walk away from basketball, and I didn't know if I'd ever play again. And I was sent to LA to rehab, and I wanted to just not be Isaac Humphries for like a solid amount of time and try to figure this all out. And
When you say Isaac Humphries, you mean like the professional basketballer?
The basketballer that, people see being all aggressive and all this stuff on, the pressures of just what that means to people. I feel like the audience or the crowd had this better idea of who I was than I did. So I wanted to figure out who that was. And I moved to LA for about 5 months and rehabbed, but also didn't tell anyone who I was. Like, just told everyone my name was Isaac. I genuinely told people I don't believe in last names the same way Mariah Carey doesn't believe in birthdays. And they were all just like, okay.
I feel like LA is a place that would accept that.
They couldn't care less. They're like,
It's
okay, let's go out.
Very LA or very biblical.
Yeah. I just said, like, I'm here writing music, which I was as well, and was like immediately gay to all of them. Like I'm gay. Like straight away, just didn't even tried to just not even flinch, and it just became this awesome world that I had no idea about. And West Hollywood, obviously the gayest place on earth. It was awesome though. Like I loved it.
But I'm so interested to know how that felt, because it must, to be almost like openly gay in public without it being a big deal to the people around you. How did that feel?
First time ever that I'd even experienced anything like that before. And it was liberating. Like it was I don't actually have words, honestly. It was it was just this feeling of like, you get up, you can wear whatever you have always wanted to wear and not worry. You can do whatever you always wanted to do and not care. Like, no one will care. And that was the best part. And I went to gay bars for the first time, and
The Abbey.
yeah, the Abbey.
Yeah.
That was my first gay bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, I am now best friends with the owner and live with him in LA. That's where I live when I go over there.
Well, there you go.
And I shared that story with him when I first landed in LA. I was taken to the Abbey, and it just opened my eyes to so much. And that's how we bonded for the first time we met, and have become incredible friends from there. Yeah. But yeah, my little social experiment, like over that time, I was just able to figure out a lot about myself. And I came home, and I periodically came out to all my friends and my family, and I had this new courage that I'd never ever felt before. In that period of time, I also decided that I'd come out publicly as well, because I was getting back to basketball, and I was it had looked like I was going to sign with Melbourne United, and I was going to be on a team. And but then I thought, like, how am I supposed to go from all of this amazing, colorful, joyous world to back to a basketball locker room where I've got to lie and pretend again? Like, I don't want to do that. I've gone way too far forward to take a backward step and just keep lying again. Like, I don't want to do that.
You mentioned during that awful night at your darkest point, the song that you'd written to your mum in which you would come out. Had you given much thought to what would actually happen when you did it, or if you did it at that point?
I just didn't know how. Like, I didn't know how to tell my mum, not because I was worried about her reaction. Like, I knew she was going to be supportive. She always has been and always will. So it was more my mentality. Like, I didn't want it to be real. I didn't want it to be, and as soon as you tell your mum something, right, like it's real. Like, the waterworks, you're fine. And then as soon as you tell your mum, you're a blubbering mess, sort of thing. Same concept. Like, I didn't want it to be real. I didn't want it to be anything. So I wrote this song and it's called Be Alright. And it's essentially me just telling her, like, something's going on. My head is crazy. Like, just tell me everything's going to be all right. Like, and sometimes you just need someone to tell you it's all going to be all right. For me, it was my mum, and that's all I needed. Like, in the moment, all I needed was, once I told her, I knew that if I was to ever tell her, I have made a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So all I would need in that moment is just, everything's going to be all right. I love you. There's lyrics like, will you still love me just the same as yesterday? Like, this just crazy concept of, like, one conversation can just change so much in a relationship. Will she look at me the same as she did yesterday? Love me the same? All that stuff. And they were all questions, natural questions. But yeah, no, it was really just a way I could express to her how I was feeling, that maybe I couldn't, like, just conversationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she handled it awesome.
Before you said that you never actually said it out loud, that you were gay, had you had experiences with other men before then? And if so, was there, obviously not asking to explain, like, go into the details of what happened, but more about what it was like.
That's nice of you, Josh.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't have to say, like, who or how long, or not how long.
That's
remove that.
That's not the important stuff. What I am curious to know is that how did it feel for you afterwards, from an emotional point of view, and a sense of sort of shame or being able to feel good about being with men? Or
yeah, I don't know if I have, like, memories like that. I definitely like, of course, yes, had experimented with men before coming out in that session, and yeah, like, absolutely have had understood that world a little bit, for sure. I remember it just feeling more correct. Like, it just felt probably how I was wanting it to feel with the girl. Like I was forcing that agenda so much in my mind that I do remember just feeling so it just all sort of just made a lot more sense. Like it I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like it didn't feel like wrong on no means, and I don't think there was a shame element to it for me straight away. I think it was just, wow, this is so different to what I am used to, like with a girl sort of thing, and understanding that this probably feels a little bit like a lot more right sort of thing.
Yeah. I think, sorry if the shame thing came across wrong.
No, it's a very common, like absolutely very common. And growing up, like the shame was there, absolutely. But I think just more towards that time where I was really trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't think there was that shame element after like situations like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's must be is confusing to for something to feel right. But not
but
be
so
able
wrong
to,
as well,
but not be able to share that.
Yeah,
yeah,
and as right as it felt, like it's still so wrong. Like in my mind too, though. Like it was such a confusing, thing to even comprehend. Like I don't know. It was very very confusing. Yeah.
Is there? This is. I want to be really sensitive and ask this, and if this is like an insensitive thing to ask or the wrong thing to ask, please tell me. But was there a part of you in dealing with that, the right but wrong confusion? Is there ever a part of you that maybe hoped that it didn't feel right?
Yeah, probably to make it all a lot easier.
Yeah.
But again, at that point, it was very obvious, like in my mind anyway, like what was going on. It was just more about understanding it a lot more. And if I had woken up one day and that didn't feel right anymore, and being with girls was where my brain was landing, then oh my God, like I think I would have run to the hills and sung from the treetops. Like,
yeah. Okay.
a truly like just there was a total period where like I would literally had rather take my life than be gay. Like that's where we were at. So yeah, like of course there were times where I, didn't want that to feel that way, but I just knew it, and it didn't change it. Unfortunately, it just became harder.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of struck by the two moments in your life. Maybe there are more, but this when you're a child and you went to Canada, and seems like people started accepting you for who you were, and then you were faced with this awful come down coming back to Australia, and then you go away to LA for 5 months, and people have never accepted you better for who you are on the inside now. Was there a real fear coming back of like, fuck, is this all going to come crashing down to earth when I come back again?
Back to Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course there was questions like that, and of course, yes. But I think I was just so overwhelmingly happy about it all.
Yeah.
I guess when you've been so low to not even want to exist anymore, you finally don't think that way, and you're just so happy with who you are finally. Anyone else's opinion actually doesn't matter. And I think I just got to that point where I'm like, whatever. If they're all going to say things that I've probably said to myself anyway. There's nothing that they're going to think that I haven't thought about myself. Just, if they're going to, let them.
Yeah.
So you make the decision you're going to tell the teammates, and at the same time that is going public because it was recorded and put out into the world. Did you need to tell someone at the club first to let them know this is what you're going to do, or did you just say, I need to say something?
Yeah. So we had for about 6 months, my management and I planned this announcement because we wanted to do it right and we wanted to make the most impact as we could.
Wow, that's amazing to think about it in those terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was put on house arrest pretty much for months. I wasn't allowed to go out. I couldn't see guys. I couldn't do anything in case it sort of leaked around Melbourne or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So you wanted to do this on your terms, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
create my own story. Like I didn't, and that's the other thing with coming out or being closeted is the coming out process is so much about also like, imagine if you were outed by like the newspaper or something,
of course.
taking your power and just owning it was a really big part of my decision as well. Multi-layered obviously, but that was, so we planned this whole thing, and I was able to tell my coach the week before or a few days prior, the CEO of the club, just so that people knew and we could organize the camera crew and like all that stuff. Because the announcement, I didn't want to do a piece to camera or.
Was that Nick Trulson back then?
Yeah, Nick Trulson. Yeah, he's still there.
He's a friend of mine and
he's
wonderful
unreal,
person,
amazing human
person.
being. And Dean Bickerman, head coach. Like one of the first times I've had a coach just be so respectful and so like understanding, or if he didn't understand, like wanted to understand and willing to go through all of this with me. It was unbelievable, and couldn't ask for a better situation to be in for this sort of thing.
Did the knowledge of how great they were as people weigh into it, or was it just like, I'm doing it and hopefully these people are good about this?
I had that mentality. Yes, I was going to do it anyway, but it just made it so much nicer and so much more enjoyable, and I never felt like it was a burden. And because at one point the whole globe was looking at this, like at Melbourne United, and we had a lot of eyes on the club, and he never made me feel like it was like a burden or a distraction or anything like that. He just
so he said, go for it. We
go
support
for
you
it.
in
Absolutely,
doing this.
we support you. I don't think anyone understood the magnitude really. Like, how do you know? Until we were in it. But so they knew, and then I filmed it. I wanted to bring people into the room and show how difficult it can be having the coming out conversation, and especially in front of your teammates, which not many people have ever done. So like when you think about it, putting people in that room and in that space and showing emotion, and it was a very hard conversation.
But how nervous were you that day leading up to it and knowing it was going to happen?
Probably the hardest conversation like I've ever had in my life, easily.
I so desperately hope that other people feel inspired by you to tell the people that are in their world, when you look at you and the change it's made to your life doing this. So were the players just told, that you'd like to say something, or
just, that was a team meeting, because we're in our meeting room, and that's not uncommon. We would always have team meetings. It wasn't until I was sort of sitting at the front and everyone was piling in that they were like, Ice, what's going on, man? Like, what's happening? Then that's when I sort of just started to talk and share with them what was going on. And again, very multi-layered. Like, I wanted them to know the backstory of it. I wanted them to understand why I was doing it, and for what reasons, and who I wanted to impact, and how we can all sort of look at ourselves as athletes and try to make impact for others. There were points other than just telling them I was gay that I wanted to get out and be an example, for everyone in the room to sort of take on board and maybe see what lane they can find and that sort of thing. So,
did you see a look in their eyes as you were talking that I'm sure you're looking for cues of, are they accepting this as this landing with them?
Yeah.
Do you remember the looks on their faces as you were saying this?
I don't remember their looks. I remember when people would not, I'd sort of gravitate more towards them just for comfort. There were people in the room I was nervous about, for sure, and very prepared for whatever sort of came after that. But a really, really nice story of that day is Nick had made all of these Rainbow M.
Nick, the CEO.
Yeah, Nick, the CEO.
Yeah.
They had made these shirts like a rainbow Melbourne United logo, and wanted everyone to take a photo after in the shirts. And I vetoed it. I said, no, like, we're not sure how this is going to go down. This is not what it's about. Like, I don't want to do all of that. So I said no. And we landed on just a couple owners having a shirt photo, and Captain Chris Goulding and our coach and stuff. And someone had sort of caught wind, one of the players, that there were shirts going around, and as I was sort of just so overwhelmed with what was going on, I just watched every single player come in one by one and take a shirt and put it on without even me saying anything, and it became a part of our shirt rotation. We have our gear and we have to wear it every day, so there'd always be someone in a Rainbow M throughout the week, and it was just awesome.
What does that do for you? Like having just I imagine a huge thing that you're anticipating, not sure how it's going to land. How does that make you feel in the days, weeks following?
Yeah, it was a lot to process. I was very emotional, and I felt very, very comfortable after all of that. And even as the weeks went on, I had players ask me, "So, are you dating anyone? What's all this about?" No one. I was not that person anyone would ask about their personal life. I was not that guy. I was very private and kept it all separate for that reason. So just things like that, it just became the normality of it all. Just became, just great to be a part of, and it made me feel very, very good and very welcome and very comfortable and appreciative.
Did it? And because this is that is Olympic level vulnerability, to do that. It's up there. Did you? And we talk about this all the time on the podcast. Probably one of the biggest themes of the podcast is vulnerability leading to a greater connection with people. Did it affect your relationships with people in the club?
Only positively, yeah.
Awesome.
We all got closer. A lot of people said, a lot of things kind of make sense now, as to why I was so isolated and so quiet, and maybe we can see a little bit more of ice, sort of thing. And naturally, I came out of my shell, and no pun intended, I guess, but came out of my shell and started just, to tell you the truth, I didn't know who I was as a gay man in a basketball environment. So I'm learning it all too, I don't know how far I was able to, what I was able to talk about or not, or I don't know yet. It was all learning. So especially that year anyway.
The fascinating thing about it, which I'll let you talk about it, but how this affected your playing and how it affected your actual game.
Yeah, it didn't straight away. I don't think my game changed straight away, but then I went back to Adelaide and had, one of the best years of my career, and won MVP for Adelaide in Club Award, and still play some of the best basketball that I ever have. And we're talking music as well. I perform better than I ever have as well. I don't have this lens that I'm so nervous about. I don't actually care what. Of course I care what people think. That's like any human does. I can't pretend that I don't, have thoughts about that. But I don't care if people think I'm gay, because I am. So whatever.
So correct.
Yeah, well done. You've read the news. Congrats. I don't know.
It really changes the tease, doesn't it? You're gay. Yes.
Yeah. So what?
And wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely just being so comfortable. Absolutely has helped a lot. Yeah. And people just knowing who I am finally. Some of my best friends in the world had no idea who I was.
Gosh.
It's really beautiful how, from that moment of incredible darkness, the small glimmer of hope was linked to, I guess, a sense of purpose, that you could do something for someone else, for your nephew. And it seems like a narrative of purpose is driving you still. Does that resonate?
Yeah, for sure. As much as coming out was for myself, to start living a new life and have a whole new lease on everything, it was just so focused on others, almost the whole time, until people had to say, this is about you as well, right? You get to have a life as well now after this. But yeah, a lot of the things I do to influence and help others, for sure. It's a very big passion of mine to share what I've learned to help other people, maybe going through similar situations or know someone that's going through similar situations. I feel like I've lived a lot of lives in my 27 years and have learned a lot of lessons. And whether it's through lyrics to my songs or stories I tell on stage or things I can share in settings like this, I always want it to somehow link to helping others.
You're saying you don't know what it was going to be like to be a gay man in and professional basketball, because there's basically only ever been one professionally before you. And Hugh read out that incredible stat before in the bio about you listed about 15 sports where there are, I think, 3 gay men across them. It must feel part of that purpose being able to show give an example to men across sports, because there must be so many men who are in so much pain.
Yeah. A lot of people living silently in the closet and don't know how to maybe approach that. Their environment might not be conducive to them coming out. And not just players, like coaches and refs and front office staff. It's not the easiest environment for all of us, everyone. It's not just players. Locker rooms are really full on, and sport is full on. And I can't. I was just about to say I could only imagine, but like I literally know exactly how hard that.
You don't have to.
I know exactly how it feels.
Imagine being a gay guy playing professional sport.
That would be so hard. But it is hard. It's very, very hard to navigate, especially if you're not okay with it yourself.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to wrap your head around for yourself before it is to share with anyone anyway. So it's just added pressures and added layers that straight people don't sort of have to deal with, but then also non-athletic gay people, like non-professional athlete gay people don't have to deal with some things that I have. Like every situation is so different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, no story's the same. But the common theme is it is hard and it's difficult, and like environments should be a lot nicer to be yourself in, I guess.
In the video, you did exactly what you said before, in so beautifully explaining to your teammates the cost of not being able to be yourself. And I thought it was such a powerful way of framing it, leading with the cost and the pain that you'd gone through and how dark things had gotten purely because you couldn't be who you are openly. I thought it was just beautiful and so well done.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So you spoke earlier in the conversation around the issues, I guess, you had with your body and the way you looked and the problems that caused you. I'm really interested to know what your body image is like now. I guess it's complicated because your body has led you to be in this incredible position. Do you feel grateful for the way you are, the way you look now?
Yeah, I think now I do, for sure. It's taken me a long time to get there. I was a very self-conscious kid, like, and those scars they will stay with me, and I'm not like that guy that runs around with his shirt off. Like, that's just not my thing. Or just, yeah, and that is definitely from all of that, trauma from being harassed for just simply trying to be me, sort of thing, physically. But then I think, like, I just was on the cover of Men's Health and had my shirt sort of up and my body showing, and I found that really fun, and I didn't mind that. So yeah, it's just a growth. I think the scars come back a little bit every now and then, for sure, especially in like athlete environment. Like, we're all like big, strong guys. Like, it just is what it is. And yeah, you can't help. You fixate. You fixate on your diet. You fixate on your training plan. You fixate on all that, and that might be a coping like mechanism to control like everything, so that people can't laugh at you or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's probably a little bit there to unpack a little bit more. Sense. To be honest,
absolutely makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's also, that's a pretty incredible journey to go from being physically abused, and I'm sure the non-physical abuse was the worst part, to not just being on the cover of Men's Health, but saying it was fun and it's all right.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
It was, yeah. And I think it's not lost on me either. Like I fully am aware of it, and I'm very proud of, where I've come for sure in many ways.
I remember when I saw the video for the first time when it got released, and it was so powerful, and it felt to me like, well, my assumption was, hopefully now this will give all the gay men in NBL, NBA, AFL, NRL, every league sport, it will now give an example, and they won't be the pioneer now, so to speak. Like they will be, they're doing what is already been done. So maybe it won't feel as, and of course there's lots, as you sort of alluded to before, there's lots of reasons why someone might not feel safe to come out of the closet. But have there been men that have contacted you or reached out who are closeted because they saw you come out like you did?
No, not a single one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That really surprises me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a single one.
Well, I think that just speaks to how scared they must be.
Yep. I agree. And an association with me is one step closer to, being found out. So I get it for sure. But yeah, no, not a single other player in any code that we would recognize anyway.
What would you say to them? They may not want to reach out to you personally, but they might be listening to this right now.
Yeah, this space is hard to give advice in because it's so different for everybody. But what I would say is the feeling that you get from just finally doing it and living and just having that euphoric new sense of life is an incredible feeling. And I would encourage anyone who can have access to that feeling to try to take that on, because yes, it's very dark and it can be very dark, but it can be so bright as well, and can be so happy and so fun as well, and it's just sometimes about getting past those hurdles, which can be massive and they can be small depending on the situation, but I would just love for someone else to feel that incredible feeling that I got after I was, able to come out.
Thank you, Matt. That's really beautiful. One of the things I am curious in, and it may be something you don't want to talk about, but I'm often fascinated with the relationship in some of your situation with their dad. You haven't mentioned your dad at all.
Oh, yeah. My dad and I, we have an interesting relationship. It's complicated, I guess. Yeah. I sung this song in my show last year called Boys in the Street, and I shared a little bit about my dad and I's experience together and just the relationship we have. And there's lyrics in the song. Basically, the idea behind the song is like, what am I going to tell when my friends tell me that my son's kissing boys in the street? Like, we did all this for you. We did all this for you. Like, paid for your school, paid for this. What am I going to say when you're kissing boys in the street? And that's not necessarily the dynamic that my dad and I have, but I just think the importance of a father in someone's life, particularly a young a young closeted gay kid's life, is absolutely you just can't really compare it to anything. It's so valuable, and when you sort of don't get that, it just creates a lot of things to sort of unpack and understand as you grow up. For anyone, of course, but then just add the layer of it's like the layer of your dad's supposed to be the first man you ever love, like your mum's the first woman, your dad's the first man you ever love, and then as gay people we grow into love more men. And fall in love and get to know all these things. But if you don't have that representation of love, in the first instance, then how are you supposed to understand what it all is? Yeah. So, that's kind of where that's at. But what I will say is he's a great grandpa to my nephews. he has stepped up a lot in his sort of role there, and that's great to see. So, yeah.
I think you are one of those people who you will never probably understand or know how many lives you've changed or even how many lives you've saved. I don't think you'll ever probably know that. And but you are doing that every day by being yourself. And it is clear that so much pain and hard work and love and connection has gone into getting you to this point in your life where you are saving and changing lives. And I just wanted to say that. That's not
Thanks.
a question. I'm so in awe of you. We all are so in awe of you. I feel like I want to, when my kids are asleep, put this interview in their room so subliminally they turn out to be as authentic and as courageous and as beautiful as you are.
Thanks.
I don't know about you guys, it feels like one of those conversations. It is such a privilege to talk to you.
Absolutely.
And me as well, I something that happened very recently in my life is, a little bit separate from what's going on, but directly aligned, is I was diagnosed with adult ADHD.
Oh, wow.
And I was referred your podcast about that and listened to that, and it helped me literally maybe a couple of weeks ago, like I was listening to that. And it helped me so much, like understand what was going on. And I didn't want to research too much and like hinder my view on anything until, I knew what was going on. But my doctor immediately recommended that episode. And I just couldn't believe that, I was invited to come here and, have that impact that conversation had on me. Maybe this conversation can impact someone like it did me, sort of thing. So very grateful to be here. Like, just unreal.
It absolutely will. I mean, as we know, like podcasts are a really special, unique thing that people can listen to in private, and it's their own little thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if most of the men who haven't reached out to you will listen to this, because it's like, what a model, what a great model to go like, wow, because we are, and everyone that's listening, so in awe of you. Like it just cannot be undersold as to how significant it is what you've done. Not just today. I mean, significant coming on the Imperfects. That's pretty cool. But
So cool.
but what you've done in your life already is so significant. Like what a legacy already.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing.
And I just feel like we should just say to all the men listening right now who see themselves in that dark place that you're in, we're thinking of you, and from what Isaac has explained, it sounds like it's a very heavy experience, but hopefully this has given you some light or some hope. Isaac, you're amazing.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Legend.
Wow.
Thanks, mate.
Full on.
Good way to finish.
What a hero. Genuinely. Like, it's amazing what he's done.
It is.
Even though obviously, as we know, and we've said, it shouldn't be amazing, but because of the context and the environment and everything we know as it is what it is, it's like, it is amazing.
Yeah. What I wanted to talk about, and we do this with all the episodes where we have an interview, where we interview a guest like this, is we just discuss a small part from it. And I think the thing that I wanted to talk about today, in chatting with Belle, our assistant producer, about the episode, one of the commonalities between, I just saw a little bit of, this is a man who hung on to, I guess, a secret link to his identity for a very, very, very long time, and then eventually spoke about it. And I kind of very, very vastly different situations, experiences. But I, for the last 3 years, have been keeping a part of my identity just completely a secret for very different reasons, in that I essentially was like a carer for a neurodivergent child, or am a carer for a neurodivergent child. And him talking about experience of sharing something that was hidden, I could really relate to the feeling of sharing something that's been hidden for a long time. Again, completely different situations, and I'm not comparing them at all. but the fact is we were both sharing something around our identity for the first time. And I kind of wanted to, I think I want to talk about it from the point of view of encouraging anyone who is listening to Isaac's story and thinking, there is something about my identity that I would so love to share with the world, but I haven't had the courage, or I just don't know when the right time is. I just wanted to talk about what I went through, but then also what Isaac's experience has been as well, because for both of us, very different things again, just an incredibly positive experience. And I was writing notes down about it last night, and I kind of broke it into 5 different categories. The first bit was all like the not steps, but just the different situations you kind of roll through in the process. And I wrote them down as the weight of secrecy as the first one, and then the second thing was why we keep things hidden, and the third one was the moment of telling, and then the fourth one was what happens afterwards, and the fifth one was a reminder of just reframing vulnerability as strength. So just very quick talking points on all of them, but the first sort of phase that you will feel the weight of a secret is holding on to a truth, especially one tied to your identity, is emotionally exhausting. Like I can't even begin to compare, but I know for Isaac, from what he spoke about, like the stress and exhaustion from turning up to training day in, day out and having to act someone that he wasn't would just be so unbelievably tiring. For me, I just found it emotionally exhausting for different reasons, in that I would turn up to places so far from my best and so far from I just wasn't switched on at all, but unable to share why, and unable to talk about why. That is what I found really exhausting. And I think so often in both situations, I'm sure Isaac would say this, I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but so often you carry the fear of judgment or misunderstanding, which kind of amplifies the burden a bit that you're carrying, because you're so worried that people will, if we ever were out in public with our child and there was a meltdown, that was my biggest fear, was judgment for that child and for us and for our family. So yeah, it is emotionally exhausting. Yeah. And I think anyone out there who's hanging on to a secret right now or about identity would identify with that. It is so tiring. And you can feel it physically in your body. You actually feel it, like the tension throughout your body is always there. And it's exhausting.
And to state the obvious, it's like, of course, like you and Isaac both have these big public platforms that you were decided to share this. Obviously people in your life knew it, but by sharing, but not everyone listening obviously is going to have like a big public platform that they'll even be required to share with, and it could just be a couple of people or your family, or that would be just as challenging.
Yeah. I mean, this is the point of this. It's not to say go and find a format or a forum where you can say it to lots of people. It's like,
get yourself a podcast, build it for 6 years. Then once you've got an audience, then share.
Play NBL basketball, get to the top level.
Then share.
Play for United.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is, we're really talking about unburdening yourself from that secret with your identity with a loved one, someone that you trust. The second thing I just thought was worth acknowledging is why people keep things hidden. Like, there's a reason for it. It's not just like, well, I'm not brave enough and I'm not going to do it, or there's often a reason for it. For Isaac, again, from the conversation we just had, the fear of stigma of being seen differently. I think especially where he grew up at such a young age, that fear of being different would have been just crippling.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, and for my family, we didn't totally understand what was going on, and also to protect someone else's identity while we were working out how we would tell them and involve them and have them understand it. So that's why for 3 and a bit years we didn't really say anything. So that's that there, and people will have their reasons, and I think people should, if they're going, why haven't I been brave enough to do it? I think have compassion for yourself, and that, like, there's a reason. If you think about it, there is a reason that you haven't felt safe doing it, and maybe you don't yet, and that's totally fine. The next thing was the moment of telling, like the moment of actually saying, and I think it goes without saying really, but it's just the most incredible sense of release. Like, for me, it was very hard to do, and I was very nervous and very tense, but as I was doing it, I could just feel years worth of tension sort of being released, or years worth of almost pain I just felt it sort of lifting from me. There was a lightness as soon as it was, and again, I mean, Isaac said a similar thing, it was just the most amazing experience for him. Like the moment of telling, when he sat down in front of it, very hard to do, like such a hard thing to do. I'm not comparing to his situation because I don't know how he did that, sitting in front of a whole team full of very manly men from varying cultures. Just amazing.
But I guess it kind of like we sort of said in the chat, it just sort of probably speaks to how much he did trust the club and the teammates, and that they obviously did have a culture where he felt like he could do it and wouldn't be and he would be accepted.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point on that one. That I totally understand what you're saying, but I also think of how important it is to be telling people that genuinely have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And really care about you, your well-being, and really love you for who you are. Because I imagine that there could be challenging situations where people don't respond in the way that you might want them to. That's a really complex one.
Yeah.
But just to acknowledge that for some people that might be really hard to find those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of it occurred to me, and I'm not trying to be like kind of joking when I say this, but you hear so much in sporting clubs about how about culture, like it's such a buzzword, and businesses as well, like how important culture is and like building good culture. And I guess the reason is so people feel safe and they can talk about things, or they feel comfortable to bring things up, and just generally be good people, have a good culture. But you never hear about it, and probably for a good reason, but you never hear about it in families. But like, there's something like interesting about thinking about like
the culture of your
building
family.
a good culture in your family, because I guess like some families don't have a good culture.
Yeah.
But it's not thought about, obviously, because it is very different than a sports club or a business. But in some ways, it's kind of not, and it's so sad that there are so many families where someone who is gay doesn't feel like they don't feel safe to bring something up, even in their own family.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just made me think like, is there a case for building good culture in families?
That's really
Take
good.
my family to a PD, professional development.
Oh yeah,
day
yeah.
On leadership,
on leadership and culture.
It's not a terrible idea.
change management in the
And then we're all
family.
going to go paintballing.
Now from now on, everyone, we're all wearing lanyards.
Trust exercise, falling backwards.
There's a swipe card to get in the house. Sign in.
Those are our values on the wall.
Barbara, your secretary, you'll be at the front. Any visitors, let us know.
Culture starts at the door.
Culture starts at the door. Exactly.
It's a sign saying no dickheads above the door. no dickhead policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so the next phase I had was just what happens afterwards, and this has been one of the most profound things to happen in my life. But the first of all, there's the deep sense of relief, and there's the lightness and the freedom that comes straight afterwards. But the main thing is the new connections that open up all over the place with people reaching out. I mean, it's different here, like what you acknowledged before, Ryan, with a lot of people hearing my story and Isaac's story. A lot of people got in touch to say they felt the same, or they're going through the same thing, and just felt huge solidarity through that. I've had a lot of people stop me on the street to say that they're going through the same thing, and had really great conversations. I think when I say new connections there, I mean, if you find someone that you love in your family or friend to tell, it will deepen your connection with them. It'll enrich your connection with them. It'll change the friendship in an incredible way. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm like. It was a bit different for our situation, but I think for anyone out there, that's what you can look forward to.
It's almost like it's a little bit of letting go of control of the narrative you want out there about yourself.
Yeah.
And not necessarily that you want out there, but you feel safe, the narrative of the identity that you feel safe with. And so like it's kind of scary letting that go and being your true self, because it's like you can't control it anymore. It's like you're on the other side of that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but you also don't yet know what connections are out there.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing to know someone, but then it's like another thing to really know someone. Like it's chalk and cheese, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is the unexpected kindness and solidarity that comes from. Just had so many incredibly nice and kind things happen since doing that. And again, from strangers, friends in the community, whatever it is. But I think that's another thing you'd look forward to, just from the people you tell, the kindness that will come your way. It's like when you, I think I've said this many times before, but when you put your hand up to say in a different situation that you're not coping, you're sort of sending a message to the world that I can't do this on my own, and people around you step up because they receive the message and they want to help you through it. The aftermath is really special in my experience. And the last thing I've got here is just, I mean, it's the whole point of this podcast, but it's like a reminder to reframe vulnerability as a strength and not a weakness. And what we say so often in this podcast is that vulnerability leads to authentic connection. That's the strength of it. Like that is the connection is, the more I just look at it, I feel like it's everything. Like authentic connection is everything. That's what we're here for. And vulnerability is this incredible doorway towards connection. And it's strange that I was reminded on my own podcast about that, but that's what this experience has done for me.
Yeah.
And hearing Isaac talk so beautifully about the people in his life that have stepped up for him, and you know, whether it's stories of teammates or the CEO Nick or whoever it was who just has really stepped up, to those connections he has with those people are so much richer because he is lucky enough to feel like he's in a safe environment, and then he really shared this. He shared who he really was, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible. And I know we said this during the episode, but if you haven't watched the video, it's an incredible thing to watch. A beautiful, Isaac, a beautiful video of. You'll see his vulnerability, but then you'll see the way that the people around him respond to that. It's equally as powerful.
It's amazing. Yeah.
What a thrill to meet that man.
Oh, it really was. It really was. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah. Brilliant.
See you guys next week.
See you next week. Yeah. Let's not chat before then.
No.
No.